Hey everyone, so I'm back for another fun day of renovations, and today we're going to be installing kitchen countertops and a kitchen sink thing. It's going to be fun. Stay tuned. So today we're going to be working on getting the kitchen countertops installed. The countertops I had previously kind of ripped off in a prior session and are now being used to store the kitchen sink-ish thing. That's actually a test for the countertops. I've got a decently thick butcher block that's going to go over the tops of both pieces. My plan is to actually reinforce that a little bit just with 2x4s or something, just to make sure that I'm not going to have any issues in the future. But the real mystery right now, literally a mystery box, is this sink. So I bought the sink on Amazon back in January, so I'm past my return window now, which means one way or another, it's going in. So those of you who have done vinyl plank flooring before, normally you don't actually go under cabinetry or you know, if you had a cabinet base on a sink. And I did, right? So why did I do that? So this is actually going to be kind of like a freestanding sink. Think of like kind of like a restaurant style sink, you know, like backrooms of a restaurant. It's all stainless, and hopefully all the pieces are in the box because, like I said, it's been a while since I ordered this. They're probably not going to accept any returns. So at this point, we're hoping for the best. I am pretty excited though. I've had this open at home, and it looks to be pretty darn good quality. So we're just going to start out today by unboxing that, get all the pieces laid out, and take a look at it. And to be fair, I have taken a look at it at home. I did verify that, you know, it appeared all the pieces were there. The quality looked good. It's actually been sitting on the floor of my garage open for the last, like I said, 3 or 4 months. No rust spots developed, so that was an intentional test. Yeah, I didn't just forget about it. As always, thank you for joining me. If you like this content, please like and subscribe, and let's get started. Look at this. Comes with some nice styrofoam that I can use to set it down on. That's liking it so far. It did come with various pieces, water lines and other things to go with the faucet. I'm not going to be using their provided faucet. It doesn't seem like it's super great quality. All right, so admittedly, I'm getting a little nervous. Just a little random piece of metal just kind of fall out, so that's... So actually, this isn't what I had wanted, but it actually doesn't seem like it's super bad quality. It's super heavy. There's a lot of metal in here. So maybe I was a little too quick to judge. One thing we did want, though, was a sprayer, and this doesn't come with one, so I was still going to replace it. All right, so some of this stuff, though, this is just a strainer. This right here, right, this is the drain line they're proposing I use. We're not going to use that. And then there's this. I'm guessing this is a trap, but honestly, I have no idea what that is. A bunch of other random parts and pieces in here. So we're gonna go with a standard drain line here. Probably not gonna be doing the drain line today. I don't have the parts, and honestly, for a sink, I'm not sure if it has to be 2-inch or 1.5 inch, so I'm gonna have to look that up. All right, some sort of skirt here. Not really sure what that's for yet. And then the big reveal. All right. So it looks pretty darn good. And it's fairly thick. The underside is mostly coated with some sort of, I don't know what it is. The edges are deburred. Overall, it looks pretty darn good. Unfortunately, though, it didn't come with any instructions. So that's nice. Time to consult the internet. All right, so after consulting the internet, it looks like I'm in for some fun. I will check back in with you once this is done. All right, so I changed my mind. Come watch me struggle. 0 instructions. All right, so that is the bottom rack. Most likely I'm gonna have to get something flat and waterproof to put underneath there just so there's a solid shelf and stuff doesn't fall through. So I found one picture on how this is supposed to go. All right, so I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little bit worried right now for a couple of different reasons. First off, it took me about 15 minutes to sand out the holes that were incorrectly cut. For some unknown reason, this is white instead of stainless. That doesn't make sense to me. And I also have no idea how that is supposed to go on. All right, so it's mostly put together. Still need to level it out. Not exactly what I envisioned, but I think it'll work for this space. My plan is to have open shelving along the wall, and I think it's going to kind of match up with the open concept down below. I am going to ask my wife to find some nice bins to put down there, and we'll probably, before the tenants get in, we'll probably actually fill it with some cleaning supplies to make it look a little bit better. All right, one thing I didn't realize when I first started was that this sink head was perfect for this area here. So when you moved it, it would only stay in this sink range. The one I've got is quite a bit bigger. What would happen if I put it here is I basically would just shoot out the side. So I'm gonna put a big old hole in my nice new sink. A little nervous about this because I don't really have any way to plug it if I mess it up. I do have a plug for here that I will putty and stick in there that came with it. All right, so the last thing I'm gonna do today is just kind of level this out just to make sure it can be leveled out. All right, so we're gonna call this good for the day. I have to go home and I have to hunt down the screws that screw this in. I did check, I can just pop that in underneath afterwards and in theory screw it in. May have to take off the top, but that's okay. It's not exactly what I was going for. I wish the basin here was a little bit bigger. It doesn't quite fit the space. What I think I'm gonna do though, and I can't quite do it just yet because I have to finish up this wall here, I'm gonna butt it up against this wall and then we'll have something there that will serve as an extra stand or workspace or something that outlet can support. Now, the other thing, it's not super sturdy. The top is quite thick, I'm very pleased with that. The legs though are pretty darn thin. I ended up having to file down a few of them as well, which definitely added to the work to get this installed. And then I burned through 2 metal cutting blades trying to cut this deck out, which I guess is a good thing. It shows me how thick it really is, but I expected more out of those Milwaukee Bulldozer blades. I can't do any more installs right now because I want to be able to sand this down, and I think a Dremel is probably the best tool for that. I don't have one here. So at some other point, I'm going to come and I'm going to cut this out. This is the other disappointing part. So I got this big beefy faucet with a spray down handle because I only had the one hole, and I think it'll be fine, but it doesn't quite match. This is more of a polished stainless, whereas this is a brushed. On the box this says brushed, and I guess it just doesn't, it just doesn't look right. I'm not going to worry about that too much. I still think it looks pretty good, and once I get it all installed, I don't think it's going to make that much of a difference, especially because there's probably going to be fingerprints all over it all the time. All right, so next up I'm going to attempt to deal with these countertops, and I have a problem. So width-wise I'm fine, lengthwise I'm fine, but depth here, not so much. So I'm planning on installing these butcherblock countertops, and they are about, I would say about 25 inches in width and a little over 74 in length. So the length's fine. Problem is the depth of that counter on the inside rod is about 26, I need about 26 and a half inches. So I'm good in one direction. In the other direction, what I'm most likely gonna have to do is either cut this or put a piece in the back, cut basically like a shim from this and use it in the back, run it along length in the back. Still up in the air, actually, as far as what I'm gonna end up doing. I'm gonna measure again. All right, so cut ahead to about an hour in the future. At that point, when I was standing on the floor, I didn't know what I was gonna do, and I had to figure it out before I could tell you. And honestly, in order to figure it out, I actually had to kind of do it. So I didn't film the initial dry fit for the first piece that I cut, but I wanna show it to you. So this is what we got so far. You'll notice there's a big gap in the back. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this other piece here, which I needed for this little section anyway, and I'm gonna cut a strip along the top of it. I'm gonna take the factory edge over here and the factory edge over there, and I'm gonna glue them together, and I'm gonna screw them in, and then I'm gonna sand the top down so it should all be nice and smooth. I may have a bit of a lip underneath in the back, but who cares, right? No one's ever gonna touch that, see that. That part's fine. I'm gonna put a little glue on both sides, and then I'm gonna screw them in just to hold them. Once the glue is set, I'll remove the screws. Actually, I probably won't remove the screws because the grain's all gonna be going the same direction. So I really shouldn't have to. All right, this piece is all in. I just have to cut this part. If I have enough left over, I might actually put a piece back there. I've already covered up that gap in the back, but I kind of feel like a piece along the edge is kind of like a band might look good. We'll see if I have enough left though. All right, for the part that remains, I'm gonna cut another strip that I can use as a backer for up there, because that actually kind of seems like a cool idea. And then I'm gonna cut out a piece here, basically for this piece right up here. And then I've got a couple of good feet of cutting board, so. So for all that work, this is as good as it is. And I have to shim it just a little bit here too, because it's not perfectly even, and that's all right. I'm thinking when I put the polyurethane down, it's gonna kind of get in there a little bit and, you know, fill in that gap. I'm not gonna glue it because the grains are going in two different directions, so if it does expand, it would just cause issues. So it says those need to be treated within 48 hours. Probably not gonna do that today. I think I'm gonna wait until maybe tomorrow evening, something like that. Let's go over here and just kind of bang out that first coat really quick. What I am gonna do though is clean up my mess. It kind of looks like a sawdust bomb went off in here. I'm sure it's all over everywhere, including my nicely freshly painted walls. All right, so with that, I'm gonna call it a day. You can kind of start seeing the kitchen come back together, oh so slowly. Funnily enough, I sent a picture to my wife, and she was anti-countertops, and she was anti-stainless steel sink. She hasn't responded yet, so I don't know if she's seen it or she hates it and she just wanted to tell me, but I'll find out when I get home. Jury's still out on the sink. I am not sure if this is gonna do what I need it to do, but I am currently working on mudding that wall there, getting that all set up. It should be done by the time I'm back. My plan is to actually move this over to the right, and then have a little shelf here on the left. I think that's gonna look really good. Again, jury's still out, but I can visualize it, right? I think it's gonna work out. And these over here, I'm really happy with how these turned out. I ended up basically having to cut this piece twice. The gap here actually came out really well in the end. I'm very pleased with that. But also, I had to cut the piece twice. So thankfully, I had enough material, and I was just gonna make cutting boards with it anyway, but I did luck out that I didn't screw it up the second time. I'm really happy with how this turned out too. You probably can't see it super well, or maybe you can, and I just think I did a better job than I actually did. But there is a seam here from where I cut that piece and kind of butted it up and glued it and screwed it. It's really faint. I mean, you could see it if you look, but I think that's gonna hold up well. It's supported underneath too, so it shouldn't shift at all. On top of that, the guy that was helping me out managed to do all of the trim. So we got a semi-gloss on all of the trim for cleanability and durability. Managed to paint, I think, pretty much everything that was left in this entire room. He also went around and caulked just about every gap in all the trim everywhere. I'm sure it's not showing up super well on camera, but it looks so much better. I just want to point something out too. I'm in that front room, the first one that I floored, the big one with that kind of bay windows. Look at this room. There's no lights. There's no lights on right now. It's just super bright and beautiful. I'm really pleased with how this turned out. And this floor and the white walls, they really do a great job to brighten things up. Complete night and day difference from what it was like when we first got this place. 7 weeks left still. We still have some big projects to do, but I'm super excited, right? I think we're gonna make it. As always, if you like this content, please like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.